In this video, we're going to take a quick look at converting Excel into something like a storyboard sheet that makes it easy for us to continue breaking down a script into a storyboard without us having to, print out sheets or draw out sheets all the time. This is actually going to help us in production when we're converting scripts and outlines into any sort of storyboard to add images as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Right here I'm in a new workbook, and the first thing I'm going to want to do is save this workbook so it doesn't crash and I lose everything. So I go to File and I'm going to go to Save, and then I'm just going to save that anywhere on my desktop. Now normally you'd want to save this to the name of your movie or whatever you're doing, whatever the script's name is. So and then I go ahead and save that, and then you can tell that it's saved because up here you can see the name, it's saved. Now what I want to go ahead and do is have my script ready. So as you can see here, I have the script here. This is not my script. I just searched online for any script so I can use it as a example. And the main thing I'm looking for is this scene heading over here, description over here, and some dialogue over here, just so you can have an idea. So over here inside of Excel, I'm going to want to change this format around because I don't really want it to look, I want to know whether I'm making my cells inside the structure of a page. Because if I were to print it out, I would want to be able to print it out so where things aren't being cut off. I want to know how the pages will look if I were to print it out, even though I may never print it out. So I may always send this as a digital document, but we'll have the option to print this out if we make sure that the format is right in the beginning. So I'm going to go here to page layout first, and I'm going to go here to landscape. So page layout, orientation, landscape. Now once that happens, I'm going to go to view. I'm going to go to view, and then we're going to go to page layout. And once we do that, I'm going to hold down the control key and the middle mouse button scroll so I can see how those pages came out. And you can see that I have now, this is the same worksheet, but it's broke up the worksheet into pages. And so if I were to print something out, that'd be good. And the other cool thing here is I can put the heading here. Exit this, double click inside the header. So if you're stuck in here and this won't click, just hit the escape key, and then you can go ahead and double click inside this header, and then you can go ahead and put the header there. So I'm going to put the name of this script. Now, the only issue I have with the name of this script is the fact that if I were to change the name of this file, what will happen is this name of the script will be the same. So what I can do is I can actually insert something in here that allows it to always be the name of the file itself. So in order to do that, we're going to use our first, in a way, it's not a formula, but it is a shortcut that we can put in here that allows it to always check the name of the file that we saved it as. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to remove the name right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the @ sign, and then I'm going to type the 2 brackets, and inside that bracket I'm going to put the word file. And then I'm going to click anywhere outside of that. And now what you'll see is the name of the file, by putting that in there, the name of the file will always be inside of there no matter what. I can also do the same thing with the page number. So let's say if I always want, whatever page I'm on, I want it to show up here. What I'm going to do is the @ sign, open and close brackets. I'm going to put page there, and I'm going to click anywhere outside of here. And right now, it's not really giving me the page number. As soon as I start going to the next page, typing stuff here, going to the next page, it'll give me the page number that I want. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead and start my scene heading. So that's going to be this internal classroom day thing that's going to be here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this, and let me zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to start that on the top layer. So the word scene here with a colon there, and then I'll go ahead and I'll put INT dot, and then I'm gonna tab over to the next one. That's gonna be classroom, and all of these actually should be all capitalized. And I'm gonna go to the next cell. I'm gonna put the dash there. I'm gonna go to the next cell, and I'm gonna put day there. Now I'm doing this for a reason. I want everything separate so I don't have to keep retyping certain things, and later on I can make it out of a template. So you notice how this word here is partially seen because it's inside that cell. What we can do is we can always go between these two cells, between this cell and the cell next to it, adjacent to it. And so I can double click in between those two cells up here at the top bar. So if I double click in between those two cells, what it'll do is it'll stretch out to the size of whatever is in that cell. But I'm going to actually want more room because maybe it's not a classroom. Maybe it's a bigger word there. So I'm always going to give this just a little bit more room by dragging C a little bit further over. Not too far over because it still has to be within the size of the image. So I don't want too much room here. There we go. And I'm definitely going to want this one a lot smaller. This one's never really going to change. So this will always be there at that size. And day is always going to be 3 letters. Well, not 3 letters. Well, day will be 3 letters, but then it might be night or morning or something like that. So I don't really need this that big. And this one definitely would always be 4 characters here. So INT dot or EXT dot. So I can go ahead and resize this to something that would always be that size. This will always be this size, so I can always resize this. And that will give me more space to change this, the width of this. So that's pretty good. All right, so this is where our scene headings will go, and now below here is where we're going to put our image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight where the image will go. It's going to go something like this. I'm probably going to want this just a little smaller. Something like that. Okay, so now this is where the image is going to go, but I don't want this a whole bunch of cells. I'm going to want this a single cell. So I'm going to select all of this, and I can go up here to the Home tab, and over here in the Align group, I can go ahead and click on this Merge Cells. And there's an easier way to do that with the right click, but I wanted to just show you where it was inside of the menu. Now below that, I'm going to put where my descriptions is going to go. So I'm going to highlight the cells below here, and I'm just highlighting 2 rows here where the description is going to go. And then I'm going to right click, and you'll see the special menu here, this little menu, and I'm going to click on this merge. And what I want to do is write something in here so I can see that when I put something like this in there, a description, and it probably won't be all of that. You don't want a lot of description in there. But once I start typing in there, you'll notice how it's at the bottom of the cell. I want it at the top of the cell and to the right. So I'm going to select it till I get this green selection box. I'm not going to double click and select on the inside. Oops, I tried to move it. I'm not going to double click and select on the inside. This is a different editing mode. So we just want, I'm going to click out here, and I just want one selection, so where it's all green. And then I'm going to go up here to the Align tab. I'm going to make it to where it's at the top and left justified, and then I'm going to want the size maybe just a little bit smaller, smaller than that. So I'm going to use this one right here to increment the size. Now the second thing I want, if I were to start typing in here, and I'm typing, and it's going off the screen, when I hit enter and it goes to the next cell below, you'll notice I can't see all that stuff that was written off the screen until I click it and then look up here. You can see all of it there. So what I'm going to want is I'm going to select this cell, and I'm going to want this thing to do what's called wrap around. Now because this is it's like a small icon here, but if I were to click this icon here, you'll see that it wraps the text all the way around. And because I only want 2 rows of description, I don't need that 3rd row there. You really shouldn't have a whole bunch in your description anyway, because the picture should say it all. So now when I do that, you'll see I have the 2 rows here that I can give a quick description plus my picture. Just a little note though. The reason why this word wrap looks this way is because the more I shrink my interface, the more these icons become smaller and smaller to fit the way the interface is shrinking. If I were to expand my interface, you'll see it actually does say word wrap there. So that's just a little note for you, so you don't get confused. Where if you had your image, if you had your window shrinking like this, you know that it's going to change the size of the icon so that way it fits the size of the window. So I'll just expand this just a little more so you can actually see that it says word wrap and merge and center here. So the final thing I need to do is go ahead and add a border around here, because these lines will never print. It'll just look like there's a cell here. So I'm going to highlight all of this here, and then I'm going to go to the font group, and I'm going to go here to borders, and I'm going to put a thick outside border on that. So now when I select over here, you'll see there's a border all the way on the outside. I also want a border at the bottom of this here. So I'm going to go back to the borders, and I'm going to go to the bottom border right here, thick bottom border. I'm going to select that. So now I have this thick bottom border. I can also do the same thing here. If I were to highlight this, I can put a thick upper border, but I already have a thick border here. That's why I did it all the way around first. Now the next thing I want to do is select this one and go to my borders, and I want to do the top border here. So right now the top border is pretty thin, and they only gave me a thick lower border here. So in order for me to accommodate this, I'm going to go to more borders. And now what I can do is I can select the type of border that I want. So as you can see, I can select in here the border I want and the ones I don't want. And then I can go down here and select the thick border. Then I click OK. And now what you'll see here is that it gave me that thick border, but it removed these other borders, because when I went here and selected this, so I'm going to select it again, and I'm going to go here to borders, and then I'm going to go to more borders. When I selected this, you notice how I deselected all of these. So that shows you how I'm going to remove this one, and then you can see, click OK, you'll see how it removed that top border because I had this cell selected. So I'm going to go ahead and select this cell again, and then go back here to borders, more borders. I'm going to click all the borders I want, and then I'm going to make them thick, and then I'm going to click OK. And now you can see here I have all my borders. It looks like it didn't make it thick. Let me go back there and try it again. I'm going to select this thick border. There we go. So the order is select over here first, then make your borders, and then click OK. And then we have that really thick border. It actually looks thicker than the other one, so I'm going to do that same thing to this one to make sure the borders look the same. More borders, thick, boom, there we go. And now I have these really thick borders here. I want some consistency here, so I'm gonna again do the same thing to these for the top border and the left and the right border. Not the bottom one. I don't want the bottom one that thick, but this should be good enough. I don't want any lines seen between here because I want it printed out to where it doesn't look like there's any lines there. So this is basically the way our storyboard is going to look. The last thing I want to do here, as far as making this one cell, is I want to go ahead and put an image in here, but I don't want to just drag an image in here. And let me show you why. Because if I were to go here to insert, and this is how we insert images, I'm going to go to insert Illustrator, illustrations, and then I'm going to go here to online pictures because I want to search for it online. If I had it on my USB, I would just do the regular pictures. And let me see if I can. Okay, so that's classroom. I'm just going to search for a classroom since that's my first scene. And this is good. And there's a teacher in there, so maybe I'll just do something like this. Yeah, here we go. Now let's do this one because it seems more formal. So I'm going to do this. Now look what happens when I bring this picture in here. Now what I have to do is I have to go and I have to crop all this stuff that came in. And look, it's just a mess. So this is not how we want to bring our pictures in. The way we want to bring our pictures in is we want to go here to insert, and we're going to first insert ourselves a shape. like this rectangle, and I'm gonna draw that rectangle inside the box like that. I want to make sure it fits the box really good by dragging these little circles here to the right size. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this box with the image. So I'm going to right click on this box. I'm going to go to fill, and I'm going to go to picture. And then I'm going to go for online picture. And then I can search for my classroom. We just did this. And I'm going to use that same classroom image so you can see the difference. Insert. Now what you see is that that image fit right inside that box. So this is perfect. Now I have my full-on storyboard template ready. And the reason why we did one at a time is because it makes it easier for us to do the other cells. But instead of doing what I'm going to do here, what I want to do first is I want to change this picture into something that I can use as a template. So I can use it for any script. I don't want to just do my script here and then have to remake everything. So I'm going to make this more like a template. So I'm going to go here to picture, and I'm going to go here to online pictures. And then when I get here, I'm going to type image placeholder. And now a placeholder image. Yeah, I can use this or something like this. Anything's fine to let me know that this is not really the image to the script. This is just something to hold until I change the script. And so now I'm ready to go ahead and duplicate these. Let me highlight this. So I'm going to drag. I'm going to left click and drag all the way up here. So now that I have everything selected, let me do one thing first. So you see this cell here. What I'm going to want to do is shrink that. So now what we want to do is we want to copy this over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to F. Mine is F, yours might be something different. And I'm going to drag all the way from up there to the top one, and you'll see all of that highlighted. Now I can hit Control C, but if I were to go over here and just hit Control V, what you'll see is that it's all stretched out, and that's not really what I wanted. I actually wanted it to be the same size as this, so this is not what I want because I don't want to have to go in here and start resizing and doing all that again. So what I'm going to end up doing here is I'm going to go to paste. So I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to go to paste special, and in paste special I'm going to click on this second row but the second one. So on the second row of paste, the second one over, I'm going to click on that, and what you can see here is that it pretty much just copied the same format as I have over here, as opposed to stretching it all out. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So I'm going to click right next to this, and I'm going to click here. I'm going to right click, little arrow, paste special down here, and the second row. All right, so basically I have my storyboard ready. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make another copy of this down here. So I'm going to highlight all of this down here, and I'm going to right click this and merge it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag from this bottom one all the way up here at the top. So I'm left clicking and dragging all the way up here at the top till all of this is encapsulated. And then I'm going to go to this little green dot right there, and then I'm going to drag it down one, and now I get a complete new copy of everything that I did there. And basically now I have the template for my storyboard. So here I'm at the bottom of the cell, this sheet name. I'm going to double click that sheet name, and I'm going to put template, because I'm not really going to use this. Now anytime I want to start making my story here, I can right click on this and I can make a copy here. So I'm going to make this copy. It's going to be after, move to the end, create a copy, and then I can click OK. And this copy is called template, but I can actually call it page 1. So this is what I'm saying is it's this page 1 that this entire storyboard will represent. So now what I can do is I just go in here and I can change my image. So I'm going to right click, fill, picture, and I can change the image. I can start breaking down my script. And I'm going to search for classroom. I'm basically searching for anything that's close enough that I don't have to really make any images right now. But you can make your own images and save them on the hard drive and then put those in there as well. And now I can go in here and use the classroom image that I wanted. And I already know it's going to fit. There's no resetting here. And then I can see the teachers talking. So I'm going to right click over here, fill, picture, here. So the professor's talking. I'm going to use this one here. Boom. And really here I'm in internal classroom day. So I can go here, internal classroom day, internal classroom day. That's true. But if anything were to change here, maybe this is in the boardroom. And it's in the day, or it could be at night. And as you can see here, we pretty much have everything in line. We have our template here that we can always copy and paste. And we have our pages here. And we really don't have to go beyond this. We can just put the entire script here in all of these pages. We don't have to go from tab to tab. So really, I shouldn't even call this page 1. I can just call this script 1 or scene 1. No, this is the first scene. Yeah, I can go by scene. Because as you can see, one scene can have a lot of different shots in here. So the teacher's talking, then the student, Jimmy, says something. So I can go here. This is when Jimmy says something. So I'm going to go here. Or Jim. His name is Jim. We'll go here. Let me just type. But he's not on the phone. He's actually saying something to the teacher. So maybe I'll just do something like this. And there Jimmy is. He's talking to the teacher. But actually, I don't want him to face that way. I want him to face the other way. So I'm just going to flip this around. And then move it back over here. And then I'll put here. I'll put the description here. Now, I don't really want to, normally you don't want to put dialogue here. So it's really just a description. You could do that. I mean, it's up to you. But normally you just want a description here so people can kind of see what's going on. And then, so I can put this one here, a little bit of stuff like this in here. And then some stuff in here. But this is just the description to what's happening. It's not really the dialogue of what's happening. You don't want too many things down here, like I said before. Now, the thing that we can do, we're pretty much done. And I can just move on from here and just keep on doing this. So I don't have to make the whole storyboard because you pretty much get the idea. When I want a new page, I can pretty much copy this page. So I can actually highlight all of this. I can hit copy. I can move on to page 2. I can go down here and hit paste. And as you can see, it all comes together. I'm in page 2. And then I can go ahead and change these images just like I did before. Okay? So I have page 1, page 2, and these will all print out for my team. So when we need to have a meeting and we need to talk about the script, this will print out very easily. Now in another video, what I want to show you guys is instead of me having to type these out, whenever really quick, I have these green little ants going around because I had it selected. In order to deselect that, you hit Control D. Now I could create a list a drop down list that automatically lets me choose the internal or the day, since those are always consistent. I can even have a list of scenes that I can choose from for these. So that's actually another thing that we're able to do. And I think this video's gone on too long, so I'll do that in another video. But for right now, just do it the manual way where you just type your scenes in there. But that'll be a pretty cool thing to where you can have a list and you just choose from the list of things that you want, as opposed to having to type it in, because these things are static, like day, internal, the scene heading right here. The only thing that changes really a lot is maybe the scene name itself or the location itself. But we'll do that in another video. Hopefully this video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share. I see you guys next time.